Hi everyone, my name is Ioana Rosu. I'm a software developer currently working for Solaris Bank. Unfortunately, I do not use in my daily life Go, but as you can see, I have an interest in the Go language. My language now is Elixir. Also, here you can find my Twitter handle, and you can contact me, and I can try replying to messages or questions if you have after the talk. Of course, I would like to reply in person, but if you have a second thought, then you can contact me anytime, I don't mind. So, technical writing. How did I end up in this? As you can see, I'm a pretty regular human. I do sport, though. I love programming and meerkats. You'll see me in several posts talking about these meerkats. Also, I had some attempts long time ago to write short stories, but fiction. My background is more like literature, languages oriented, and therefore for me it was quite natural to try to write back then, but fiction as far as I could do. And at some point in my programming life then, in my second life being this one, I received a proposal to write a chapter, part of a book about Go language. And this proposal came from a group I was in and I'm still in, is a woman who Go. And of course, I was very excited about this opportunity, considering my background of trying to write some things from time to time. And also because in this group, I saw a lot of very interesting people that I used to admire back then, and I still admire. And therefore, this proposal came like just in time, and it was a very big happiness coming to me just out of the blue. Okay, so happiness, but then what came after it? Of course, a lot of panic, because even though it was a book chapter, imagine that I never wrote like a technical book, a chapter anyway, but a technical book, I never wrote it. So I said yes, because I was really admiring what was doing there. I was also involved in the Go community, so yes, I said yes, but then the panic came. And now it's time for you to reply some questions. So, whoever here wrote a blog post? Oh, I appreciate it. Okay, good. So, what about a novel? Nobody? Okay. Whoever wrote a readme? Okay, according to expectations, that's good. And what about a technical book? Okay, that's nice. Okay, we should talk after. Yes, but for the rest, I had the same feelings, nothing. You know, the thing is that writing is a very big topic, and whoever had this curiosity to check it, it's really big. And of course, we can split the writing in writing genres, and for example, part of the fiction is dystopia. Maybe you have this pleasure to write dystopian books. I do, my circles, they also do that. But trying not to get too much into details today, because the time is very short, I would like to just point you to something that I discovered in this attempt to write the chapter. And this is about business emails, CVs, and medical reports, which I consider very interesting, that actually they are part of the technical writing. So this is something that I discovered myself, and I wanted to share with you that the branch is really, really vast, the branch of technical writing. And also, of course, there are big differences between, for example, non-fiction and fiction, and with novels or technical books, or who knows, maybe we'll have technical books like novels. You never know. Of course, there is a big difference in free writing versus accuracy, because we need that in the technical area. And also, because I'm here today, I would like to share with you what I learned from my project with the chapter from the book. And I will try to share next my experience mapped somehow on the discovery I had to have, like, in trying to understand what I have to do in the project itself. So the roadmap for today, you see this maybe known word, roadmap. What is technical writing? I would like to talk about the style definition and, of course, the benefit of writing technical things. And the most important part of the presentation is the technical writing process, which you might find useful. I hope so. So, what is technical writing? Technical writing, it's about processing information into digestible content with a specific meaning for a specific audience. Shortly, it's a way to communicate as clear and as effective as possible. It's about analyzing very complex information, but translate it in a way that is very easy to understand, to follow, to use. And of course, you will realize, if you are curious about it, that audience is the one actually shaping the whole experience. This is what I learned from my project, and this is what we try to figure it out for a long time. To whom do we address? And what is not technical writing is not just about understanding the information, it's about recording it in the best way possible. Something about the style now. So as you can imagine, the style should be clear, should be direct, should be neutral. Of course, should guide the reader in how to use that information. The reader, though, doesn't have to know all the details. You should somehow try to catch the crucial elements. And in general, as I discover myself, the writer has to have a very broad understanding about what's going on and what wants to present, and then try to translate it to the target reader. Of course, again, you'll hear me a lot in this presentation about the audience, but the audience is one of the most important things you have to consider when writing a book. Also a blog post, but not necessarily, because the blog post is just addressed to many people who are just interested in that particular moment. But the book really has to care about the audience. So what was the challenge for us? It was that we split the book between several people, and every person had a specific chapter. But therefore, we really have to unite and understand our audience, and to understand how we pass the message in the book. And of course, there was also another issue we identified, that when you pass the message, the reader should not be disrupted, because when are different writers, then from one chapter to another, the reader can be disrupted, and can be differences in style, in nuances, in many things, because we all have our particular way of putting the facts on the paper. So, yes, this is about the style, really important. And what can be the benefits? Of course, the benefits is that you just become a little expert on that subject. And my area of expertise for sure in Go is about arrays. I know plenty of things about arrays. Okay, so we discussed about what it is technical writing. We discussed about style definition and benefits shortly, because there is not much time. And now the most important stuff. Technical writing process. What I discover myself is that technical writing is not just a block of things you have to do at once and everything should be perfect. Technical writing process, it's about those 5 steps that you have to accomplish, and then you have to be prepared to follow them. So we talk about pre-writing, we talk about drafting, we talk about revision, editing, and publishing. So from all of those, it might be that the writer has to cover all of them from 1 to 5, but it might be that in the normal scenario, when you have an editor, a publisher, then you don't have to care so much about the last steps, but you have to care about pre-writing and writing or drafting is the same thing. So yes, what is the pre-writing, you might ask me? Then pre-writing is very easy. It's everything that is before you sit down at a writing desk. Of course, at a writing desk you might plan, but you understand. So it's about searching for inspiration, it's about planning, it's about research, everything that prepares you to go in the next phase of drafting. And what is drafting? Drafting, of course, it's finally when you sit down to a writing desk and write. And of course, then revision, editing, and publishing are self-explanatory. And as you can see here in this beautiful diagram, this is a process. Very important to understand. Also, it was very important for me to understand that this is a process. And this process can go in circle, and you see that there is no exit to the circle because this process can be improved and improved and improved. It's like MVPs. So you start with pre-writing, then go to drafting, revision. You also see some arrows. This is because somehow this is a perfect scenario. This is like kind of utopia. But when you go to the real world, then those steps, they might overlap, and they overlap in the sense that sometimes in the drafting you realize that maybe you didn't catch something in the planning, and then you have to go back to planning and do again something in the drafting. As well, when you go to revision, then one of your peers can say to you that you maybe misunderstand some of the concept and you have to revise or you have to do more research. And yes, this is the main concept why you would go back from revision to pre-writing. That's perfectly normal. Nobody is going to throw stones at you. So also what I would like to ask to tell you is that planning sets your project for success. A very good planning will go further and without so many bumps into the road. And what important thing is that in the review you might realize many things yourself, or if you have a peer that you're going to work with, then it's also important and might help a lot. And of course, now it's time to get your hands dirty. You start, but how you start? So you just reached the first issue. The starting blocker is called in the writing industry. So starting blocker. You'll find 1 million reasons of not to start, and of course a lot of activities that you have to do before starting. For example, you'll want to organize your garage. You will want to just clean the kitty litter box because it's very important. It's not like writing. It should be done now. Also, you like to work on your tax return declaration. This is actually what I did to procrastinate, and since moving in Germany, I never did my tax return declaration, but that was the perfect moment to do it. So I had to do it. Yes, and I really suffer from the starting blocker, I would say. So it's nothing like stargazing and planning and coming with brilliant ideas. It's just a starting blocker, but while this will be overcome, then things will be easier. Now a bit more about pre-writing. Facts that can be interesting for you is that the document type should be identified from the beginning. Also, the goal. Also interesting to do will be to consult with experts. There is no shame in trying to reach some experts and try to talk with them. They might reply to you, they might not, but it's really interesting to try at least and to discover new ways of doing better and wiser your planning and your outline. Also, again, analyzing audience. Analyzing audience is crucial, and of course, what is important to know is that the reader is the one defining the text. Generally, the technical information doesn't change much. The only thing that changes is how you can convey the facts and put it there on paper or electronically, but facts. So it's important if your audience has expertise, or if your audience is, or if the information is totally new to them, or they fall somewhere in between, because otherwise you will just miss the target, and this is a pity. Also, from the pre-writing, another thing is about gathering ideas and of course planning and the outline in the end. But what I found very useful is a very old trick you can use to gather ideas, and this is the mind map. What I discovered myself is that we all search for this one idea that should be perfect, should be amazing, should just hit the world, but we shouldn't do it in this way. We should use something that is mind map or whatever can help inspiration to come, and we should try to get 100 ideas, 200 ideas, and then from them to try to get the best of it. Because when you try to get from the first attempt to get the best idea, the amazing idea, then you will suffer and you will get depressed. You will try to overcome it, and it's very hard, and you will suffer from this blocker. Again, my part in the book, it was about a race, so I had to do a very big research, considering that I do not work currently with Go, so I had to do a lot of research around it. Also, I tried to understand myself. I tried to make a lot of comparison with other languages to try to come up with a lot of examples. Also, I did a lot of exercises or trying to solve different algorithms myself to try to get the feeling, the deep feeling about this particular zone from Go. And finally, the drafting phase came. And then I would like to share with you some insights that it's very important to write in the correct way. And besides the fact that when you start writing, you have to just expand the outline. And if the outline is very good, of course, you'll try to create paragraphs around your outline. In this phase, you don't have to worry about so much about grammar, about the language or punctuation or things like that. And of course, you can have some personal touch. I mean, I think you all heard about 99 bottles of something, or a lot of books with programming where they use cats, counting the cats or other animals. So personal touch, it's good, though, depending on your audience. But what I wanted to share with you, some insight, is that when you come from another language, because for example, for me, English is not my native language, then I'm really careful how I try to use it. And also, it's important to know that in the technical area, using the passive voice is not the way to go. So And I will read to you those two examples to understand what's the difference and why active voice is the best way to do it. So in the first example, the electricity meter is read 6 times a year by a trained technician. And the second example, the active voice, a trained technician reads the meter 6 times a year. I would personally say that the second example is the way to go because it's clearer, it doesn't leave so much place for interpreting it. Just a second, please. And of course, less is more, as we all know, as least detail as possible, if possible. Of course, avoiding jargon. We all can go in this direction because after so many years of experience in some particular fields, we go with a lot of acronyms or other particular naming for things, but it's not recommended because some people that they never work in that field or they never interacted with people from the field you are talking about, they do not know about those acronyms. So it's better to avoid it as much as possible. Otherwise, anyway, you'll narrow your audience. This is not a good thing. In the drafting also can be explanation consolidated, and this means the usage of examples. We all saw that we can use code snippets or also visual displayed, meaning diagram, pictures, cats, movies, whatever. Because for me personally, it's very hard to just follow when it's a very big block of text. Then if this is mixed with other things like making me visualize is personally better. And now come the third phase, the revision. What does it mean? Well, considering that in the previous one, the drafting, we could have ended up with first draft, second draft, 10 drafts. That's not an issue to end up with 10 drafts, at least to be something improved. Then in the revision phase, it's recommended to have someone that is going to give you feedback, let's hope constructive feedback. And then for me, the one who did this revision phase, it was a peer from the same project, and her name is Sarah. She had a look on my draft, and she gave me very constructive feedback, also because she had a chapter about slices and helped a lot to go and have a very good look on the arrays and how I presented them there. And of course, this is the phase that maybe your peer should not take care of, but yourself, is when you have to check if you went according to your outline, or you have to check yourself the grammatical accuracy and so on. And now editing. You might think that is not a big difference between editing and revision, but it is. Mostly when it's about an editor, like a specialized person. And let's consider now that there is that specialized person, and that specialized person is going to check if you have the correct style, if you have the correct tone, if you can really push the message where it should be pushed. And also this is considered checking for your intention, if the intention was followed or not. And this is the thing that also I would like to share with you. I discovered a very good source. It's called Publication Coach. And here is about a woman. She was for many years, she was an editor. And at some point she wanted to start being a writer. And for her, it was very, very hard to get out of this editor brain and put herself in the writer brain. Because apparently when we try to write, we have this temptation to also edit in the same time. I'm not really sure if I can can put it so well as she does on her website, but the main idea is that when you write, just write. Do not think about intention, do not think about grammar, do not think about perfection, just write, because the editing phase will come for sure. So do not kill your creativity trying to be the editor in the same time. This is what she discovered, this is what I discovered myself, because I had this temptation. And then it's very good to consider it like a special phase where all of this happens. And of course, the last one, the happy one, champagne, everything is fine, the publication. I'm really sorry I cannot share this with you because we are still in the drafting phase. I really hope that this is going to happen. Let's say that this year, and maybe next year I can come to the same conference and tell you that yes, I drink the champagne. Yes, let's hope for the best. Yes, and I would like to show you that the state of the story is still the chapter is still in the draft state. I'm still uncertain about one subtopic I would like to add, and I try to maybe add some benchmarks there about performance, but I'm not sure. Let's see. Yes, and the book situation is still uncertain because of the publisher. So yes, I'm honest with you. This is the state. I don't know what is going to happen, but for sure I had a lot of learnings in the past year. I'm really sure. I'm very grateful for that. So let's recap. As you can see, writing is a process. You start with this little snowball and you roll it and you roll it and you roll it until it's going to be big enough to roll itself. This is the aim. Also, prewriting is the phase where a good part of the magic happens. This is something that we should not forget. Another thing is that we shouldn't fall in the trap of the editor syndrome. And of course, things that I used to forget at some point, it's fun. Can be fun. Yes. And yes, something that I would like to share with you is that writing is a journey, it's not a destination, just enjoy it. If there is something that I would like you to gain from this presentation is that is this particular thing. If you can keep it in mind, that I will be very happy. This is amazing. If you try to grasp it and follow it. And here are some sources and credits, because I had to learn a lot from the greats. And then this is a very short list of the books or other things, of course the big internet, of other things that I try to reach myself, to read, to try to also apply the information I got from there. And also, thank you a lot for attending, for coming. Again, that's my Twitter handle. If you want to get in touch, please do so. Thank you. Sorry, I just passed it. Do you have questions?
Hi. I would like to know, I'm over here, which technical platform did you use? Did you use like a Git repository with markdown files, or how do you cooperate with this? I mean, could be Word documents, I don't know.
We didn't go so far in having a Git repository. Interesting question, I would say. We just had some Google Sheets that we shared, and basically that was it. What we tried to do, it was to meet like once in a while and try to understand where we are stuck, or we try to help each other to see how we can do it. And yeah, we just had very basic tools. We didn't work in this professional manner of GitHub and Markdown, but yeah, it's a good idea, I would say. I just wrote because I come from a very traditional area. I used to use pen and paper. I know it's forbidden. But for some reason, not every time, for some reason, I have this blocker when I see a blank page on my computer. I have this blocker and I cannot start. So I would prefer to have, I don't know, an agenda or something that I can really write. And also I can be somewhere that it doesn't have to be my desk, can be, I don't know, next to the lake. Yeah. Something else? Yes?
Okay, I see I'm loud enough without or. Okay, so my question would be, so after learning about technical writing, going deeper and writing for yourself, did it change your perspective? Like when you read technical writing of other people, and who are like people who do technical writing on a level that you really appreciate and think it's like high quality to get an idea or an example of good technical writing?
So who has to benefit from my research for sure is my company and my colleagues doing some work in the documentation or also reviewing it myself. Who I admire, but I'm a bit biased now. It's Bill Kennedy, you know, the one who wrote, yes, I really admire him. Of course, I how not to admire him. And I'm thinking now. Yeah, I think I have a deep respect for his work for sure. So I really admire him. It's like a very good balance, I would say, in how he puts the things there. Is not very, clutter the information. It's light enough but good enough also, and offering a very deep perspective that it's going to be reached really fast. You don't have to write, a Bible to get some knowledge. This is the reason. You're welcome.
So thank you for your talk. In regard to mindset, what would you say is the biggest difference between writing text and writing code? Not as in the obvious thing that you type different things, but when you plan to have an outcome, how do you set your mind to it?
Very interesting question. Let me think. I think that both, they involve having a process, but I would say that on the code side, even though you might revise it after 1 year and discover that, oh, this is not my code, but yes, and can be improved, when it's about code, you really have to deliver something that it's good, it's performant, it's beautiful, and you can forget about it. When it's about technical mindset, you have to be aware, as I said, that this is a process, and you also, like a writer, you will improve a lot, because for some reason experience, life itself can actually impact the writer, and you can have very different mindset, and you can come back to the same text and you realize that maybe it's not so good, or maybe you didn't send the correct message. So I would say that the mindset in the writing is that this is a process. This is not going to end. I mean, you can publish something and that's done, but even like that, I read about multiple writers that were never happy with even when the book was published. So unfortunately, this is the mindset that the perfection is there somewhere, but you cannot reach it. In code, though, I know plenty of us, we want to reach the perfection, but we are happy if we deliver the code, it's functional, it's performant and beautiful, and we can move on. Yes?
When you accepted to write the book, right? Did you, in your whole process of writing, do you agree with your current employer that you could take some time, working time to write, or are you doing everything in your personal time? Because I think it's always a mix in our industry, right? It's really easy to us to just neglect personal time and put everything on sources of work. So how did you balance? Because to write a chapter for a book, that's a lot of work, right?
That's true, but I don't know the correct answer, because actually people from my company, they do not really know what I'm doing in my free time, and I'm not really an introvert, but close, and therefore I do not share things that I'm currently working on until they reach the light. So they didn't know. They actually didn't know about it until I decided to have this talk, and they were very surprised, of course. But I would say that if back then I would have asked about it, I think it was a subject to negotiation and would have been okay. Anyway, I do plenty of things in my spare time because, as you heard me, I'm an Elixir developer, and I'm one of the organizers of the Elixir Berlin. And therefore, I spend a lot of time in the community and also being involved in other community, but not like an organizer. So I'm used to that. I try to share my free time in doing other things also regarding this big area. So it's not like it's something very unusual that I spend so much time, my free time, doing this. Part of my free time is actually, again, programming. So, yeah.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we don't have more time.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we don't have more time, and we have to go to the main stage for the closing. Thank you.
Thanks again for coming.